Good evening. I'd like to call to order the November 11th, 2025 regular board meeting. I'd like to announce that the meetings of the Mechanicsburg Area School District Board of Directors is being recorded and live streamed for the purpose of transparency and increased public access. The live stream, along with the recordings from previously held meetings, can be found on the school board YouTube channel. At this time, if all would like to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This time I'd like to have a moment of silent meditation. And I also just like to bring up it also with Veterans Day, if you want to give some thoughts to those that served our country. We'll do a roll call. Mrs. Swigert.
Yes. Mr. Bradley.
Here.
Mr. Frenchel.
Here.
Mrs. Huff. Here. Mr. Kickline.
Here.
Dr. Lebo.
Here.
Miss Morgan.
Here.
Dr. Rhodes. Mr. Sanger.
Here.
And Mr. Rupp.
Here. Endorsement of agenda. Do we have any changes to the agenda tonight?
There are no changes to the agenda and it will stand as written.
And the reading of the minutes of the regular meeting of October 7th, 2025. Do any board members have any corrections or discussion on those meetings? We will accept them as they are printed. Move on to item 2, hearing of visitors, of items on the meeting agenda. There will be 2 opportunities for public comment this evening. As a reminder, public comment is limited to residents and taxpayers of the school district. At this time, we have reached the first opportunity for public comment. The opportunity is reserved for comments related to items that are listed on this evening's agenda for a vote. A second opportunity for public comment will occur at the end of the meeting. The second opportunity for public comment is reserved for comments on issues not listed on the agenda and not being voted upon. Public comment will be limited to 3 minutes per individual and requires community members to observe a reasonable decorum. If you'd like to address the board, please come up to the podium and share your name and your municipality in which you reside. This is for items that are on the agenda being voted upon tonight. Seeing none, we'll move to item 3, reports and presentations. Item 3.01, Superintendent of Schools report, Dr. Bitts.
Well, I guess this report changes a little bit. My report tonight was going to be sharing a state budget update, and at least according to WGAL, there's a positive update to share. At least just glancing at it quickly, it looks like they are settling at $50.1 billion. Just glancing at it quickly, I don't have the faintest idea what that will mean for us as a district, but I'm sure within the next 24 or 48 hours we'll begin to get some idea of what that means. But news has been wrong before, and I think there's still value in sharing a little bit of what this has done to us already, even in the time that we've dealt with not having a state budget. So I know I've shared some updates along the way. I'm not going to repeat all the updates that I did before, but I do have some new figures to be able to share with you and some talking points. So we have continued to analyze our cash position and where we stand as a district, and obviously continue to monitor whether any type of loans or that sort of thing would be necessary for us. Through our analysis, we continue to believe that we would be okay until March. That's when things would become extremely tight. Based on averages of monthly expenditures, we would anticipate by March timeframe being at around $14 million or so, and at that point, another month would be putting us in trouble. So ultimately, we believe we would be in good shape until about March, which would mean that really come January or February, if there was still not an agreement at that time, we would need to be coming to the board to talk about some loans and at least getting that process started so that we would have that money on hand by March when it would be necessary. Again, hopefully not necessarily at this point, but even still, even if tonight, as we've talked about in the past, even if tonight there is an agreement, it's going to be quite a few weeks until we have money in hand from the state budget deal. So thankfully, we continue to be in a good position. It's also important to point out that if we would have to borrow, which many school districts have to do, there's a need to pay the cost of the issue plus any amounts we would owe for monthly interest, and that ultimately would not be money that would be reimbursed to us in any way, shape, or form. So there would be costs to us that we would never recoup if we were to have to borrow, as a number of districts across the state are doing. Looking even at that, at the idea of lost earnings, because at this point in the year, we should have received about $7.5 million from the state already that we have not. So we've relied completely on our local tax base to this point, and we've been able to do that. But we should have received $7.5 million, which means we've lost about $53,000 of interest through the month of November. Again, money that we will never see, and that's been lost simply because we haven't had a budget or that revenue coming in.
But the Commonwealth has made interest on the money they've withheld.
That,
True?
I believe so. I don't think they're planning on distributing that interest. Other implications, there are certainly, at times, I lose track of what some of the implications are that we're feeling because of the lack of a functioning federal budget, and what we're experiencing because of a lack of a functioning state budget, because obviously we're dealing with both right now. But certainly continuing, not just as a district, but even more so as families, continuing to feel the crunch with SNAP benefits and real hunger crisis that is happening. We are seeing locally, there are families that are reaching out for assistance. Obviously, we sent a message out to our families a few weeks ago and continue to talk with local organizations and clergy and others to be able to talk about what are some options to continue to partner together as a community to support our families during this time. But that continues to be a real need, and hopefully some ground being made there as well, but whether that provides any immediate relief to families is certainly a question mark. Even some smaller things with the lack of a state budget, things like clearances are taking some people longer time to be able to receive. Those kinds of things that might be little things in the normal flow of things, but right now are significantly slowed down, just like you see with travel and so many other areas. So lots of impacts to us. Hopefully we're coming out on the other side here and we'll find out some good news. Now, again, even with the passage of a budget, it'll be the question of, okay, what will that mean for us and how will that impact our bottom line, because we really still have no idea what a quarter of our revenue is going to look like for this school year that we're already almost halfway through. So I don't know if you have anything to add.
No, I think you did a nice job articulating it, and you kind of touched on it briefly here. There's always a passage of the state budget, and then it does take several days where we'll start to get information from our legislative representatives or from our professional organizations that detail all this funding spreadsheets, right? Those are the numbers that Dr. Vitz and I are very curious about. And so I would say if we have a budget here in the next day or two, hopefully maybe by the end of the week or early next, we'll have better visibility into what really does that mean for the school district. And typically what we've done in years past, Dr. Vitz and I and Mrs. Ely have often come back to the board, whether it be in a future weekly update or a future work session or maybe superintendent report to talk about, how does that reconcile to what we budgeted versus what we're going to receive, just to take a little closer look at that. So,
yeah, I'm interested in how this uncertainty affects our budgeting process next year, being that we're just now receiving these funds from March.
Yeah. So I think there's the practical impact. There's a couple impacts, right? So Dr. Vitz had shared the very real impact of $53,000 of lost interest revenue, which is just an impact on 25-26. In addition to that, I think to your question, probably heading into the 26-27 budget, will be very in tune with not only the state budget, it is an impactful 25% of our budget, as Dr. Pitt shared, but also even that federal portion to say what's happening with all the title grants and what's happening with IDA, the flow through. We'll probably have to be more intentional about that this coming year than maybe other years where with federal funding, we would often assume we'll carry into the budget whatever the prior year allocation was, and maybe a little bit of an inflationary increase, where I think there's a little more question about that, I think, heading into the next budget process, particularly around federal funds. The state budget, I'll say, probably handle that in much the same way we always handle the state budget on a year-to-year basis. We do look at kind of the trend, the historical trend of what we've received. We kind of read the tea leaves based on whatever the sitting governor is proposing in the January-February timeframe, which is going to be just around the corner, ironically enough. And then we develop some estimates about what should be contained in the budget. And as the board probably recalls, we try to be careful about, as much as we appreciate the governor's proposal, which is usually quite ambitious, we land somewhere between, we don't want to budget flat, but we also try to be mindful that we don't want to over budget or over project what we're going to get from the state. So it's a little bit balanced.
Questions?
Thank you, Dr. Pitts, for your report. Move on to 3.02, Cumberland Perry Area Career and Technical Center report, Mr. Sanger.
Yes, the CTC last met on October 27th. We reviewed a number of normal business items and discussed the state of the building project. Structure is a prefab structure, the kind of big part of it. So I'm going to go in at once and waiting on that delivery to figure out the footers. You don't want to put the footers in, set the building up, and realize you're a foot off on things, right? The idea is that's coming November 17th, next Tuesday, I think, or sometime next week. That's excellent. I hope for good things there, and that's the story on the building project. The next meeting is December 8th, which lands before the schools, before our reorg meeting. So I plan to attend that meeting to ensure there's quorum. CTC passes its budget, importantly, at that meeting. It's not always a good time for quorum overall, so that's the intention there. And there'll be leadership change there for chair and vice chair, so to figure that out. That's my report.
Any questions for Mr. Sanger? Thank you for the report. Item 3.03, Cumberland Perry Area Intermediate Unit, Mr. Bradley.
The IU met on October 23rd, and most of the discussion was around, as Dr. Pitts had talked about, the state budget. The IU had actually gone out and obtained a revenue anticipation note, or RAN, and they were talking about the cost, as Dr. Pitts said, they were talking about the cost that was getting wiped out, the cost of getting that loan, and it was in the $300,000 to $400,000 that was just disappearing. And for all the different school districts, that's money that either was going to be spent somewhere else, or it was money that you had in your fund balance that you would be earning interest on it. So there was an impact on that as well. So they had actually exercised, and this was the second loan that they had actually gone out to get. They had done another $10 million loan earlier, so they were looking at $40 million. So trying to figure out that, and then also the impact of the school districts and the pace. They were getting paid, but the pace of payment slowed down a little bit. The other piece that they were looking at as well was this month they were going to start looking at where is that line in the sand of how much further can we go before we really get ourselves into some serious difficulty, because of the fact that many of their programs are funded. If they're not funded from the school districts, who are not getting money from the state, they're funded by state and federal programs. So that raised a lot of concerns for them, that what programs would we be able to offer. And of course, it's offering it to those that need. You start to cut back on those programs that families and kids really need. So it was, hopefully this budget does come to fruition, come quickly so that we don't experience that. The other thing that we talked about was the impact on, they have a program like the Operation Wildcat, they have it called Champions for Kids, and they were seeing a increase in demand for assistance through Champions for Kids. So they were just preparing, how did we gear up a little bit, how do we do things a little bit differently, knowing that we're going to have an increased need. So they were looking at how to address that and how to handle that. There also was a request from a member of South Middleton Board to look at and develop a little bit more of a program to talk about AI and how AI would impact the IU and impact the overall impact other participating school districts. So there's a potential initiative, and the IU has been doing a lot of conversations about AI and the impact on it. So they're going to continue to look at raising that a little bit further and exploring that a little bit more. So, and then there will be another meeting just before Thanksgiving.
Right. Any questions for Mr. Bradley?
Mr. Bradley's comments there highlight just how impacted all schools or educational entities are feeling the impacts of the state budget impasse. In fact, Dr. Bitts and I have been looking at what's happening across the state, and as an example of the borrowing costs, the city of Philadelphia had to issue $1.5 billion tran, a little different than rand, similar idea. It was $30 million of issuance costs and interest just for the city of Philadelphia. And so when you think about that cumulatively across the state, how many public school districts or public school entities are incurring the cost of issuance cumulatively, plus the interest that's being lost on the other side of the equation, the dollars are very significant. And then you think about that in relation to the increase that we're hoping to get from the state. Some of that increase is going to get washed out by just all of the cost that's tied up in issuance of debt or the interest revenue that we've been losing. And I appreciate Dr. Bitts' advocacy, because it's not just what's happening at our school district, but he's done a great job. And a lot of conversations have also pointing out, you know, there's a lot of other schools that are feeling the pain, and maybe even feeling the pain worse than what we have been. So.
On a happier note for the IU has a partnership with a high school in Wales, and they started that partnership last year, and this year invited a few different school districts to take part in that, and we were honored to be part of that yesterday. We hosted their contingent, which was 4 people, their head teacher and one of the departments, the leadership of one of their departments at their school. So very exciting to be a part of that, and I think there's opportunity for continued partnership with them. I know we had a chance to meet with the head teacher yesterday, the 2 of us, and I spent the rest of the day with him as well. But
A very worthy hour and a half.
so good things are still happening there at the IU.
Do we still have our partnership with the school in England?
We don't, and that was one of the exciting things about this is the Richard Lander partnership kind of died off when there were some changes there at Richard Lander, and we switched our partnership to another school and had about, I think, just 1 year in with that new school before the pandemic, and then obviously with the pandemic things just kind of died. So this may be another opportunity to get back into it.
Thank you.
Right. Any other questions? Thank you for the report, Mr. Bradley. 3.04 Wildcat Foundation report, Mrs. Huff.
Wildcat Foundation board met last Friday. One of the things I guess I wasn't able to attend, but I asked Mr. Pratt for an update, and he said that the foundation is going to be making a $10,000 grant donation to the Student Services Department in the district to be distributed to the food pantries at the elementary, middle, and high school levels. And this will come from a food nutrition designated fund that we have, and it's to help them navigate the increased requests as staff benefits remain in limbo and economic challenges that are out there. The foundation's grant application process has been opened for teachers, and they will be contacted via email pretty soon about that. The deadline for applications is January 18th. Foundation's annual appeal opens this month, so you'll probably be getting a flyer in the mail asking you to participate in that. And then lastly, the tickets for the Wildcat Foundation night will be on sale December 1st. That night is February 20th. It will be similar to last year, still held at Stocks, call in it, and an email will be sent out to local families in the near future. That's it.
Tickets sell out quickly.
They sure do. They
Now,
sure do.
is
And lots of
anybody on
opportunity
the
for
board-
sponsorships too.
Usually somebody sends an email out. You can get them collectively or individually, but you do want to get them right away because they do sell out. I know Holly used to always hold 2 for me because she knew I would always do it after she's
Brett
gone.
does that anymore, that's right. You gotta put
Back
up
in
with
the
the
small
money.
bit, and she's all over it.
No, I know, she does very well with that, to make sure we get our tickets, whether we did it in a timely fashion or not. So. Right, any questions for Mrs. Huff? Thank you for the report. PSBA legislative report. When Dr. Bitts and I did the agenda, we decided to talk with the state budget during his report, and since that has now passed, there's no further discussion on that, so I have no further report. And the Finance Facilities Committee report, Mr. Sanker.
Just want to note the committee hasn't met recently, but items that are on the agenda tonight that we heard once, at least under facilities, the 8.01 was reviewed in an earlier work session. That's it.
Very good, thank you. And the board president report, announcement of an executive session held on October 28th, 2025 at 6 p.m. to discuss legal and personnel matters. An announcement of an executive session held this evening at 6 p.m. to discuss student and personnel matters. Item 5, new business, athletics, recreation. Item 5.01, Dr. Lebo.
I'd like to ask the board to approve the winter and spring recreation staff appointments.
So we have a second.
Second?
Further discussion?
For those that are volunteering, is that by design of that program, or is it possible for them to get some kind of stipend? I know some of those are very time consuming, so I just
So I would say Mrs. Heron has done a very nice job of looking at all of our recreation programs and developing kind of a consistent and equitable system for compensation. There are situations for a variety of reasons why someone might volunteer, and that's maybe something we can follow in a future update on.
So it's likely, on that individual's preference.
And I see the probably in particular they were looking at lifeboat course. Is that?
No, those are very time consuming.
Sure.
So
Yeah, we can find out why. I'm sure that was a agreement that was made with the individual, but find out.
Further discussion? Mrs. Swigert.
Unless I hear a negative response, I'll record the roll call as a unanimous vote.
Item 6, new business, budget and finance. Item 6.01, Ms. Morgan.
I would like to ask the board to approve the treasurer's report as per the attachments, which include the following. Number 1 is the treasurer's report for October 2025. Number 2 is the board budget report for October 2025. Number 3 is the general fund invoices paid, check number 71959 through 72168 in the amount of $4,195,662.60. Number 4 is electronic payments in the amount of $8,752,090.82. Number 5 is the general fund invoices payable, check number 72169 through 72193 in the amount of $2,049,810.78. Number 6 is the capital reserve fund invoices paid, check number 1970 through 1975 in the amount of $163,259.17. And lastly, number 7 is the series of 2024 construction fund invoices paid, check number 207 through 223 in the amount of $709,864.04.
The second. Any further discussion? Mrs. Swigert.
Unless I hear a negative response, I'll record the roll call as unanimous vote.
Item 6.02, Ms. Morgan.
I'd like to ask the board to approve the settlement agreement and mutual release of claims with PA Leadership Charter School.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Mrs. Swire?
Unless I hear a negative response, I will record the roll call as unanimous vote.
Item 6.03, Ms. Morgan.
I'd like to ask the board to adopt the Act 1 resolution establishing that the board will not raise taxes above the Act 1 index of 4.3% when approving the 2026-2027 general fund budget.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
I'll just share the comment. So our base index is 3.5% for this year, and the adjusted index is the 4.3. So for what's worth.
Plus, this will be the final year for the 1%
Yes.
construction.
Correct.
Okay.
And what, Dr. Pitts, what's the difference between that base and the adjusted? Or
So
what-
the adjusted is an adjustment for, based on your, I would say, general socioeconomic status in your district. So some districts just get a little bit, some get a little bit more of an adjustment. It is to reflect how much the state would suggest would potentially be necessary for you to raise taxes.
But unfortunately, how it works is the more economically distressed the area is, the higher their index is. So essentially, the areas that have less money, they're allowed to tax locally more, which to me seems the opposite way to do it, but that's how the law is, and has been for quite a few years. And that's based what on your aid ratio, correct, for free and reduced funds? Is what the criteria that sets the percentage, right?
Yeah, to Dr. Bitz's point, I think he explained well. It really is a socioeconomic indicator, and if your market value aid ratio is above 0.4, then you get that additional adjustment, and it's proportionally adjusted based on how much above the 0.4 you are. So, for instance, if Cumberland Valley doesn't get an adjusted index, their index is the base index, versus us, we have an adjustment, which probably looks different than certain other districts in our school, in our IU, where they have an even bigger adjustment yet.
Last year, you might remember, we were required by accepting the adequacy funding, I believe, but acquiring some part of the money from the state that they had added in, we were required to adopt the Act 1 index. Obviously, we don't know if that will be the case or not, but we're proactively moving ahead with what we believe we should do.
So just so I'm clear, if we took the 4.3, we could still add another point on that yet, or no? That has to include the
One
1.
has to. The 1 is just a local decision of how much of whatever increase we make, we're setting aside for the debt service.
How do you want to go, Tracy?
I don't want to go at all.
And also by doing this, it takes away we could not do a referendum for any additional
Exceptions,
correct? I just particularly want to let the new board members, I don't know if we've ever actually talked about this before, but when you accept this, we could not produce a budget that would require exceptions in a referendum. We're really locking ourselves into the law, into the Act 1, saying we will not go above that as the calendar, the budget develops and eventually gets approved.
And frankly, over the years, probably they changed it 15 years ago, maybe more. There used to be 10 exceptions. They whittled it down to I think 3 or 4 now, and so it really continues to diminish how much you can even raise through exceptions. I know sometimes it's a hot topic at a state level, the number of schools that apply for exceptions, but if you look at the number that actually utilize it, it's far, far lower than. So from a practical standpoint, we've always recommended to the board, Dr. Bitz and I, to just adopt the resolution and not seek exceptions, which sets in motion a whole different process if you look for exceptions.
I mean, I'll just say I'm concerned with the uncertainty in funding from the state, fair funding, and federal funding. So I'm pretty concerned about locking ourselves in, but I also don't want to raise taxes.
You're just locking yourself into a maximum right now.
Right, and most of those exceptions really wouldn't apply to those issues you're talking about. I mean, it's like building, construction, things like that, that we wouldn't qualify for. So, I mean, so any holdup from them really doesn't affect, like the exceptions wouldn't be usable. Most of the exceptions would not be usable.
The tension is one.
Concerns you're saying. like this year.
So one of the exceptions is not uncertainty over whether or not we're going to get our money.
Unfortunately, the law, they did not include that in one of them.
That's smart.
Change that in the next contract.
Yes. Any other discussion? Mrs. Swigert?
Unless I hear a negative response, I will record the roll call as unanimous vote.
Item 6.04, Mr. Kickline.
I'd like to ask the board to approve the tax policies report as presented.
Second.
Second.
Any further discussion? Mrs. Swigert?
Unless I hear a negative response, I will record the roll call as unanimous vote.
Item 7, new business curriculum. Item 7.01, Mrs. Huff.
I'd like to ask the board to approve the student services contracts as presented.
Second.
Second?
Any further discussion? Mrs. Swigert?
Unless I hear a negative response, I will record the roll call as unanimous vote.
Item 7.02, Mrs. Huff.
I'd like to ask the board to approve the new course proposal entrepreneurship as presented.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Mrs. Swigert?
Unless I hear a negative response, I will record the roll call as unanimous vote.
Item 7.03, Mrs. Huff.
I'd like to ask the board to approve the new course proposal lifeguarding as presented.
Do we have a second?
Second?
Any further discussion? Mrs. Huff? Or Mrs. Swigert?
It's late.
Unless I hear a negative response, I will record the roll call as unanimous vote.
Item 7.04, Mrs. Huff.
I'd like to ask the board to approve the new course proposal for sports nutrition as presented.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
I would just like to say I appreciate the work of our administration and teachers in presenting these new courses. A lot of creativity, a lot of courses that are very applicable, and so I commend them for that.
Any other discussion? Mrs. Swigert?
Unless I hear a negative response, I will record the roll call as unanimous vote.
Item 8, new business, facilities. Item 8.01, Mr. Sang.
I make a motion to appoint KCI civil engineers to review and analyze the site at the district's Upper Allen Township campus.
Second.
Second.
Any further discussion? Mrs. Swigert?
Unless I hear a negative response, I will record the roll call as unanimous vote.
Item 9, new business, personnel. Item 9.01, Mr. Bradley.
I'd ask the board to approve the personnel report as presented.
Do we have a second?
Second?
Any further discussion? Mrs. Swigert?
Unless I hear a negative response, I will record the roll call as unanimous vote.
No.
Item 9.02, Mr. Bradley.
I'd ask the board to approve the affiliation agreement as per the attachment.
Do we have a second?
Second?
Any further discussion? Mrs. Swigert?
Unless I hear a negative response, I will record the roll call as unanimous vote.
Item 9.03, Ms. Morgan.
I'd like to ask the board to approve the salary adjustment for the superintendent in the amount of 3% plus 1% performance bonus effective July 1, 2025.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? Just thank Dr. Bitts for a very
Well
successful
deserved, yeah.
first year as our superintendent.
Honored to serve.
Exceeded the expectations, so congratulations.
Well deserved.
Item. Mrs. Swigert.
You should retire.
I am retired.
Unless I hear a negative response, I will record the roll call as unanimous vote.
Now we'll move on to item 10, new business policy, item 10.01. Mr. Frangel.
I ask the board to approve the second and final reading of the revised board policy 005, organization as per the attached.
Do we have a second? Any further discussion? Mrs. Swigert.
Unless I hear a negative response, I'll record the roll call as unanimous vote.
Item 10.02, Mr. Frangel.
I ask the board to approve the second and final reading of revised board policy 011, Principles for Governance and Leadership as per the attached.
A second.
Second.
Any further discussion? Mrs. Swigert.
Unless I hear a negative response, I'll record the roll call as a unanimous vote.
Item 10.03, Mr. Frangel.
I ask the board to approve the second and final reading of revised board policy 626, federal fiscal compliance as per the attached.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Mrs. Swigert.
Unless I hear a negative response, I'll record the roll call as a unanimous vote.
Item 10.04, Mr. Frangel.
I ask the board to approve the second and final reading of revised board policy 626.1, travel reimbursement, federal programs as per the attached.
Do we have a second? Any further discussion? Mrs. Swigert.
Unless I hear a negative response, I'll record the roll call as a unanimous vote.
Item 10.02, Mr. Frangel.
I ask the board to extend the terms of the board president and vice president until December 9th, 2025, where a reorganization meeting will be held at that time.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? I'd just like to say, when I went out the door this morning and it was 28 degrees, I knew I'd made the right decision to retire from this so I can be where it's warm in the future, so. Any other discussion? Mrs. Swigert.
So we can say no.
Unless I hear a negative response, I'll record the roll call as a unanimous vote.
Item 10.06, Mr. Frangel.
I ask the board to adopt the agreement and waiver of hearing before the board of directors between parent, student, and the board, and the terms and conditions set forth therein. Direct the superintendent to place said agreement in students' education records. Authorize the superintendent to act on behalf of the board in implementing the agreement and order the expulsion of the following students. Student D of 2025-2026 to be permanently expelled.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Mrs. Swigert.
Unless I hear a negative response, I'll record the roll call as a unanimous vote.
Item 12, hearing of visitors. We have reached the second opportunity for public comment. This opportunity is reserved for comments on issues not listed on the agenda and not being voted upon this evening. As a reminder, public comment is limited to residents and taxpayers of the school district. Public comment will be limited to 3 minutes per individual and requires community members to observe a reasonable decorum. If you'd like to address the board, please come up to the podium, share your name and the municipality in which you reside. This is for items that were not on the agenda and not voted on tonight. Ma'am.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Donna Mall. I'm Upper Allen Township. Have 3 students in the district. Going to go off script for just a minute. We didn't get this on. I'm hoping to officially request, so you'll probably be hearing from me after this meeting or after my meeting with Dr. Bitts on Thursday to try to get this on the agenda, but not knowing what schedules lie, I just wanted to put this out here so that everybody has a chance to hear it, just in case I don't have another opportunity to speak about it. So, good evening, members of the board and community. Tonight, I'd like to address a small but important policy detail that can have a big impact on our students. How we report weighted GPAs on transcripts. Specifically, I want to advocate for including the weighted GPA directly on the official transcript rather than expecting students to calculate or report it themselves. Here's why this matters. First, transparency and consistency. When schools report the weighted GPA themselves, every student's record reflects the same calculation verified by the school. This ensures accuracy and fairness. If students are left to calculate their own weighted GPAs, there's room for error, not to mention inconsistency in how courses are weighted. Colleges and scholarship programs rely on official data, and standardized school-reported GPA strengthens the credibility of our transcripts. Second, it supports college and scholarship applications. Weighted GPAs provide a clearer picture of the rigor of a student's coursework. Admissions officers want to know not just how well a student performed, but in what context. By including the weighted GPA directly on the transcript, We save admission offices and our students the extra work of trying to explain or recalculate what their GPA really means. It helps our graduates stand out for their hard work and academic challenge. Third, it reduces unnecessary stress for students. Applying to college is already complex. Asking students to figure out or justify their own GPA calculations adds confusion and anxiety, and sometimes even leads to mistakes that could hurt their chances for scholarship or admissions. A clearly reported weighted GPA gives them confidence that their effort is accurately represented. In short, reporting the weighted GPA directly on the transcript is about accuracy, equity, and advocacy for our students. It ensures that every student's academic record tells the full story, not just the grades they earned, but the rigor and ambition behind them. By making this small change, we help our students present their achievements clearly and confidently to colleges, employers, and beyond. There are other schools in the area, including Camp Hill, CV, Stilton, and Susquehanna, who already do this. Thank you. Appreciate the time.
Thank you. And did you say, ma'am, you have a meeting with Dr. Bitson on Thursday?
I do on Thursday, yes.
And he'll always report back to me on those things, like our weekly meetings, so
Yes.
at that
And then I
point,
will
we'll
be
decide.
asking for, then I'll be asking for a written to try to get this on, officially on the board.
Any other public comment on items that were not on the agenda and not voted on tonight? Seeing none, item 13.
I'd like to ask the board to adjourn.
Do we have a second? Meeting is adjourned.